In the heart of London, amidst the grandeur of a royal parade, an intoxicated tourist named Greg Thompson made headlines for all the wrong reasons. The annual event, attended by thousands of spectators, featured the iconic sight of marching royal guards in their ceremonial uniforms, a symbol of tradition, precision, and unwavering discipline. However, what should have been a celebration of British heritage quickly turned into chaos when Greg, fueled by alcohol and misplaced bravado, decided to shove one of the guards mid-march. The incident occurred as the guards moved in perfect synchronization down the mall, their polished boots striking the pavement with military precision. Greg, who had been loudly heckling the procession, stumbled into the path of the march. Ignoring warnings from nearby officers to step back, he lunged forward and shoved the guard squarely in the chest. To his astonishment and horror, the guard didn't stop. Instead, the line continued its relentless advance, closing ranks around him as if nothing had happened. Within moments, Greg found himself surrounded, pinned between the unyielding wall of soldiers and crushed under the sheer force of their formation. Spectators gasped in shock as Greg flailed helplessly, his drunken bravado replaced by panic. The guards, adhering strictly to protocol, maintained their pace without breaking stride, leaving it to nearby police officers to extract Greg from the situation. Once freed, he collapsed onto the ground, nursing minor injuries but visibly shaken. As paramedics tended to him, murmurs rippled through the crowd, some expressing sympathy for the hapless tourist, others applauding the guard's stoic resolve. Unsurprisingly, the fallout was swift and severe. Local authorities arrested Greg on charges of assault, disorderly conduct, and public intoxication. Buckingham Palace released a formal statement condemning the act, emphasizing the importance of respecting those tasked with upholding tradition and safeguarding royal events. Even the mayor of London weighed in, calling Greg's behavior a disgrace to our city. Meanwhile, Corporal James Harper, the guard involved in the altercation, earned widespread praise for professionalism and composure. Witnesses described how he remained focused despite provocation, embodying the discipline expected of someone in his position. As news of the incident spread, residents and tourists alike began speaking out about Greg's actions. Social media campaigns mocking his antics gained traction, with hashtags like #Don'tMessWithTheGuards trending nationwide. Late-night comedians couldn't resist poking fun at the scandal, further humiliating him. Meanwhile, Kensington Park residents rallied around Corporal Harper, organizing fundraisers to support his legal costs and hosting events to honor his service. At one such gathering, a neighbor presented him with a plaque engraved with the words "Guardian of Dignity," symbolizing the respect he had earned not just locally but across the country. For Corporal Harper and the rest of the royal entourage, the incident underscored the challenges faced by those in uniform. It also highlighted the resilience required to maintain composure in the face of adversity. As they prepared to leave Kensington Park, the prince himself paused to thank the guard publicly, praising professionalism and dedication. It was a small gesture, but one that resonated deeply with everyone watching, including Greg, who now faced the daunting task of cleaning up the mess he had created. The days following the incident brought a whirlwind of media attention, public debate, and personal reflection, not just for Greg Thompson, but also for the broader community. Footage of the altercation, captured by onlookers and shared widely on social media, painted a vivid picture of what happened. In the video, Greg's drunken lunge toward Corporal James Harper was met with an almost eerie calmness from a guard, who continued marching as though nothing had occurred. The moment when Greg was effectively swallowed by the advancing line of soldiers became a viral sensation, sparking both outrage and admiration. Public opinion quickly divided along predictable lines. Many viewers applauded the guard's steadfast adherence to protocol, hailing them as paragons of discipline and professionalism. Comments like "he got exactly what he deserved" and "respect the uniform" flooded online forums, celebrating the fact that Greg's reckless behavior had been met with silent authority rather than retaliation. Others, however, expressed concern over whether the response had been too harsh, questioning whether the guards could have intervened earlier to prevent injury, even if it meant breaking formation temporarily. Greg himself faced mounting consequences for his actions. Arrested at the scene, he spent a night in jail before being released on bail pending trial. News outlets identified him as a tourist from Australia, amplifying embarrassment not only for Greg personally, but also for his home country. Backlash poured in from all sides. Even Australian commentators weighed in, urging him to apologize publicly and take responsibility for tarnishing their reputation abroad. Friends and family distanced themselves, fearing association with his growing infamy, while businesses near Parade Route reported refusing service to anyone matching his description. Meanwhile, Corporal Harper emerged as an unlikely hero. His name became synonymous with grace under pressure, and interviews with him revealed a man deeply committed to his duty. Speaking calmly during a brief press conference, Harper explained that maintaining formation is non-negotiable during official duties. Our role isn't just about protecting individuals, he said. It's about preserving order and demonstrating unity. Breaking rank would undermine everything we stand for. His words resonated deeply with audiences worldwide, earning him accolades from veterans, historians, and ordinary citizens alike. But perhaps the most telling reaction came from within the ranks of the Royal Guards themselves. While they refrained from commenting directly on the incident due to protocol, insiders noted that incidents involving unruly spectators were rare, but not unheard of. What made this case unique was its high-profile nature, and the fact that the Guards' response served as a masterclass in restraint. Their ability to remain composed despite provocation reinforced the idea that these men and women are trained not merely to act, but to embody values greater than themselves. As preparations began for Greg's court appearance, discussions around accountability took center stage. Prosecutors argued that his actions represented more than mere drunken foolishness. They symbolized a blatant disregard for cultural traditions and the safety of others. Defense attorneys countered that Greg's intoxication impaired his judgment and suggested leniency based on remorse, which Greg claimed to feel. Ultimately, however, evidence showed that Greg had ignored multiple warnings prior to shoving the guard, leaving little room for excuses. Outside the courtroom, the story sparked larger conversations about respect, boundaries, and the role of law enforcement in ceremonial settings. Schools incorporated the incident into lessons about civility, using it as an example of why rules exist and must be followed. Community leaders seized the opportunity to promote programs aimed at fostering understanding between civilians and those in uniform. For many, the takeaway was clear. Actions have consequences, and disrespecting institutions designed to protect us ultimately harms everyone involved. For Greg, the experience marked a turning point, or so it seemed. Stripped of his anonymity and facing potential fines or jail time, he appeared genuinely contrite during subsequent interviews. "I let alcohol cloud my judgment," he admitted in a televised statement. "What I did was wrong, and I'm truly sorry." To Corporal Harper, to the royal family, and to everyone who witnessed my stupidity. Whether his apology stemmed from genuine regret or damage control remained unclear, but it signaled at least a superficial acknowledgement of his wrongdoing. The trial of Greg Thompson became a pivotal moment, not just for him personally, but for the broader conversation about accountability and respect. As the courtroom proceedings unfolded, it was clear that justice would be served not only through legal penalties, but also through lessons learned by all parties involved. The prosecution presented irrefutable evidence of Greg's actions, surveillance footage showing his drunken lunge at Corporal James Harper, eyewitness testimonies recounting the disruption caused, and records of warnings he had ignored prior to the incident. Defense attorneys attempted to mitigate the damage by emphasizing Greg's remorse and lack of prior offenses, but the judge remained firm in her assessment. When the verdict came down, guilty on charges of assault, disorderly conduct, and public intoxication, it carried significant weight. Greg was sentenced to community service, mandatory alcohol counseling, and a substantial fine. Additionally, he was ordered to issue a formal apology to Corporal Harper and the royal family, acknowledging the gravity of his actions. Perhaps most humiliatingly, he was required to participate in educational workshops aimed at teaching civility and cultural sensitivity, a symbolic gesture meant to remind him of the values he had so flagrantly disregarded. For Corporal Harper, the ruling was vindication, not just for himself, but for all public servants who put themselves on the line daily to protect others. As he left the courthouse surrounded by well-wishers, he expressed gratitude for the outpouring of support. "This isn't about me," he said humbly. "It's about standing up for respect and civility. We're all better off when we treat each other with dignity." Greg, meanwhile, faced the daunting task of rebuilding his reputation. Friends noted he seemed quieter, less confrontational, though whether this marked genuine change or mere survival tactics remained unclear. For the first time in years, he appeared vulnerable, forced to confront the reality that power and privilege could no longer shield him from accountability. Yet amidst the chaos, there was also an opportunity for reflection. Community leaders seized a moment to address broader issues of civility and respect, organizing workshops on conflict resolution and hosting discussions about the role of public servants in society. As weeks turned into months, Greg began making amends. He attended counseling sessions diligently, learning techniques to manage stress and channel frustration into constructive dialogue. He volunteered regularly at local charities, mentoring troubled teens struggling with anger issues, and advocated for policies supporting mental health awareness. While some scars of the past remained, lingering whispers behind his back, occasional cold shoulders, he understood they were consequences of his own making, and rather than resent them, he used them as motivation to continue improving. By the time his sentence ended, Greg had earned a measure of forgiveness, not because he demanded it, but because he worked tirelessly to deserve it. On his final day of community service, neighbors gathered to thank him, presenting him with a small plaque engraved with the words, "From chaos to contribution." It was a playful nod to his journey, symbolizing not just physical cleanup, but emotional renewal. Reflecting on everything that had transpired, Greg felt a profound sense of gratitude for the lessons learned, the friendships forged, and the chance to start anew. Yes, the road had been long and fraught with challenges, but through adversity, he discovered strength, not just in himself, but in the resilience of those around him. Cleaning up Kensington Park wasn't just about removing garbage. It was about restoring harmony, bridging divides, and proving that even the messiest mistakes could lead to beautiful transformations. As he walked home that evening, greeted warmly by neighbors he had once alienated, Greg smiled softly. The battle may have ended, but the story was far from over. Together, they had embarked on a new chapter, one rooted in hope, humility, and the unshakable belief that change is always possible. The end.